What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red Gold Standard podcast. Tonight, got ahead of myself. My name is Zach Hernandez, and tonight I am joined by my co-host, Mike Andrews. Matt is busy. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight, so we will have him here in spirit. But we got a great show planned for you guys this evening. Nonetheless, we'll be recapping the 49ers Saints game, which feels like an eternity ago at this point, but we haven't been able to get on a show since that game happened. And we'll be previewing the 49ers final preseason game, which is in like 48 hours versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I cannot believe the preseason is almost over. I was just telling Mike before we went live, we were counting down like the minutes a couple of months ago to the preseason starting, and we're almost done with it. So before we start the show, Mike, how you doing this evening?
I am well. Just finished my bowling league. Had one of my best nights ever out there as far as like averages. I don't know if you guys are in leagues or not, but you bowl 3 games. This was my 3rd or 4th 600 series, which is like you average 200 a game every game. So I was out there doing my thing tonight. Felt good. I get close to it, but like 580s, 590s. I'm never really a 600 guy, so it was pretty cool. Had a good night, and we won all the points that we could get. We could go from 6th to 2nd place in one night. It's pretty incredible.
Damn.
We got to see. Yeah, we got to see how it goes. And this is for money too, so it was good placement.
There you go. All right. So like I said, we're going to be recapping the 49ers Saints game. The 49ers get their first win of the preseason. There's only 3 games now, so it's not that big of a deal when there used to be 4. They beat the New Orleans Saints with the final score, I think 17-13, if my memory
16-13.
16-13. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It was an entertaining game for the most part. Brock Purdy started, and that was about all on offense that did, minus a couple of linemen.
I'm sorry, 16-10. I super duper apologize.
16-10. Thank you. I knew it was a 1-score game. I couldn't remember. Yeah. There was a lot of hubbub, I guess is the correct word, around Brock Purdy. He was trending Sunday night. Maybe broadcasting preseason games nationally was a mistake because a lot of people that don't otherwise watch football are watching it. And what do you think a player looks like when he's out there without the rest of his starting offense? And he's only out there for 3 drives. I mean, Mike, what was with all of these other fans trying to jump on the opportunity to hate on Brock Purdy and call him a bum, say this is what happens when he doesn't have the Avengers around him? What's your take on this?
I saw that exact tweet. That's funny. All right. So there's 2 sides to this for me. There's like the little angel on the shoulder, and there's the devil on the shoulder. You got to tell me which one you want me to go with, because like I could spin this both ways.
Let's get it spicy.
All right. So we're going to go with the devil on the shoulder first. I loved hearing it. This is exactly what I need to hear to drive down the market price for Brock Purdy, who's supposed to be getting this massive extension. I need everybody out there to say that he sucks and is completely codependent on his surrounding pieces. You listen to Brock Purdy, you listen to the Breece Hall interview that he did, and he was talking about his relationship with Brock Purdy and how Brock Purdy told him, I'm not the biggest, fastest, strongest, but as long as I have all the right pieces around me, I'll be able to win some games. All right, cool. So then that means that we shouldn't be paying you so much money that we can't afford all the other pieces around you. So that's where the spice comes from. I do think it was a massive overreaction. His first game since the Super Bowl, his first time being allowed to be hit. When you listen to him talk about whether or not he was going to even play tonight, he said that following the Tennessee game, while they were still in Tennessee, they came to him and asked him, hey, do you think you want to play next week? And he said yes. And his reason behind it was, I need to get my internal game clock sped up. He said that in practice, they're not allowed to hit me. There are some would-be sacks and hits and hurries that I kind of just get to stand through and still deliver the throws. He was like, but this would be good to recalibrate and get back on track. So he did it for all the right reasons, and those reasons came true because he held onto the ball a little too long sometimes, and you could see it. His play was more down than it was up, but nothing was like, oh my God, this guy is like a choke artist. He's not going to be good. So
yeah. he played 3 series, and I think what kind of upset me the most was him trying too hard to make a play and taking a hit over it. Like, dude, it's August 19th or August 18th. This game doesn't mean shit. Like, what are you doing? You're out here taking a hit from Chase Young, who apparently lost some weight and got fast all of a sudden because he was slow as hell just 6 months ago. And now this dude can actually rush the passer and make Brock Purdy, who's pretty damn quick, speed up his running around. That bugged me. It's like, it's not worth it. Just throw the damn ball away. I watched JT O'Sullivan's breakdown of it, and the receivers were not helping him out at all. I mean, Brian Baldinger broke it up too, and it's like on one of the plays, I think the first play, Trent Taylor falls down. James Cowan gets shoved to the ground. Brandon Willis isn't listening to Brock Purdy literally point to him saying, hey, I'm scrambling, like it's a scramble drill. Yeah. Run back to me, get open, do something. And then Brandon Willis gets pushed out of bounds where he can't even catch the ball, even if Brock Purdy threw it to him. So I think he was rightfully upset. But that is a very good point, Mike, because some people were saying, did Kyle throw him out there to say, hey, don't forget how good you are without me making you good, so next year when it comes time to negotiate, don't pull any of this Brandon Ayuk shit and have us at the table for 4 months, okay? Like, let's keep it in perspective. So maybe.
I like it. I didn't even think about, everyone's talking about the Avengers and the players that were missing. The other side to this is Kyle wasn't calling plays either. So you need all of this to work. Not just those guys, not just Ayuk, you know what I'm saying? Not just Trent Williams, not just Christian McCaffrey, not just George Kittle, not just Debo. You need me also. Yeah, so, the playbook inside and out, right? Better than any quarterback Kyle's probably had in this system on this team. But so what? All that knowledge isn't going to get you anything without me calling the shots and blah, 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 blah. So it was cool. I like it, man.
Speaking of Kyle not calling the plays, after the first preseason game versus the Titans, he was asked, is that something you think you'll do again? What do you think the likelihood of that is happening again going forward? He said, he made it sound like absolutely not. I was so bored. I didn't know what to do. It was the most boring, 3 hours of my life. I got to throw a challenge flag. That was about it. And then 10 minutes into the game, we hear from the Fox broadcast, oh yeah, Clay Kubiak's calling the plays again. Did you make anything of that? Like, what do you think? Do you think Kyle's just trying to give him this experience, and then when the regular season starts, all right, fuck off, Clay, back to me? Or do you think he's going to maybe ask him for his input in real game scenarios come September? What's your take on this?
Yeah, it's interesting. Kyle's never going to show his whole hand, and so that's why, like, who are you gaming in preseason? I don't think they care about who's calling the plays in preseason, right? I am still banking on what I said following the first preseason game when we found out that Kyle wasn't calling plays and it was Clay Kubiak. I'm hoping that this old dog is learning new tricks. Not saying that he's going to relinquish all play calling duties and responsibilities to Clay, but maybe you'll see him do some things where it's like, this is the call and Clay has a different opinion on, like, something, and maybe he'll just give a second and think about it. Maybe he'll just have a second to think about it, because let's be honest with ourselves. As great as Kyle Shanahan is as a play designer and play caller, there's been times where we are pulling our hair out. Like, Kyle, what are you doing? Like, going into halftime, this is one thing I noticed. If the team had the ball at halftime, they were attempting to drive down the field and score.
Yes.
There was no, it's just preseason, let's milk this clock or whatever. We got that ball back on the last possession of the first half with like a minute 24 or 34 or something like that, and they were trying to move that ball, not just get in field goal range, which we've seen Kyle do before. Kyle's like content, like, let's just get in field goal range. I remember the first Super Bowl here, that halftime right before pissed me off. It's like, if it weren't for George Kittle's big play, you weren't even going to use a timeout. You weren't going to throw anything to the boundaries or anything. Like, if it weren't for that one big play, like, what are you doing? You wasted so much, wasted 50 seconds on that last drive. Anyway, sorry, I digress. See, I'm flashing back. But maybe this old dog is learning new tricks. Kubiak showing him, hey, like, we can, if you really think that it's worth leapfrogging someone when we kick off and all that stuff, let's get points heading into the locker room. Let's fight to the very end of the play clock. So hopefully Kyle is trying to learn something new.
Yeah. That's a really good point, because we have seen him be way too conservative at times. And I was thinking about this the other night because, yes, I would imagine part of the reason drafting Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing, but specifically Pearsall using that premium first-round pick on a receiver was due to the uncertainty specifically with Ayuk, but even at Debo. I mean, people forget Debo's only under contract for this. This is last year. It is, right? He signed a 3-year extension in 2021, didn't he?
I think this is the year of the out, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
okay, so then maybe next year?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now. But I'm pretty sure I don't think it's this year because people were talking about him being traded this year. 3 years. He signed a 3-year deal for $71 million, and that. Yeah, he's got one more year after this year. He's got 2025 also on the book.
Okay, so Debo has 2 seasons left. Ayuk has 1, possibly 2, or possibly 4 if they extend. But I think they drafted Ricky and Cowing because of that. But also, maybe that was the start of a shift in philosophy. That was my whole point of bringing that up, was maybe we will see him start to become aggressive. He has, I think, 4 or 5 of the highest scoring offenses since he's been in the league, with the Falcons, with the 49ers. Yet the 2 Super Bowls he's made with the 49ers, they were held under 25 both times, if I remember correctly. Was it 23-33? And then
I saw a graphic that said all 3 of his Super Bowls were that low. Like the Falcons, remember it was 28-3, and then they didn't score anymore. That was the high point. And then we scored 20 against the Chiefs and 22 last year. So
what happens? I mean, they literally lose. I think last year, and I know that final game against the Rams is going to throw it off, but I'm pretty sure they were averaging over 30 points a game last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't get me wrong, Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense is a top defense, right? He's arguably the best DC in football. But is that worth spotting 10 points? Like that's a touchdown and a field goal just because the level is playing that much. I would maybe spot you 3. We're talking taking 10 points off. So I'm hoping that was the spark to change his philosophy and say, I cannot relax and rely so much on my defense, my pass rush to get home. And my job as the offensive coordinator and the play caller and the head coach is to put up as many fucking points as I can. So hopefully that's what we're seeing. And Mike, I think what you brought up there with that final shot before half perfectly illustrated that. I know it wasn't him calling plays, but obviously if it's his team, he's coaching under Kyle Shanahan. I think there's a shared philosophy and a shared mindset there. And maybe Kubiak was trying to tell Kyle, we could do this. Like, this is something we could do in real game scenario. And look, they got a touchdown out of it. They got the ball with under a minute left. And I'm trying to think if they had scored up until that point. Had they even scored up until that point?
Yeah, there was
a field goal, maybe.
We had
2 field goals.
Yeah, but yeah, that's right, because that was it. So every possession that Dobbs had, I believe, was a score. He had 3 possessions, field goal. So we were trailing 7-6 at that point, and then we went up 13 right there. Yeah.
So I think that's a great point. And we got to talk about Dobbs in a bit because he was electric. He was great. He was fantastic. Joe Boyd is asking about Brandon Ayuk. We'll talk about this a little later, Joe. I'm not ignoring your comments. We're going to go through the show, but we will talk about Ayuk, I promise. Ben saying, I'm sorry, I think Ricky may be a dud. Both your guys' opinion on him, please and thank you. It's way too soon. We literally haven't even seen him. And I think it's very unfortunate because 4 years in college I believe he was at Arizona State and then at Florida, he didn't have 1 injury. He didn't miss a single game due to injury. This dude's come into the NFL, and in the 4 months since, he has 2, you could call it 3 because he has the same injury twice with the shoulder, 3 injuries that have kept him out of basically all of OTAs and practice. And now the preseason, because it just came out that he's not going to be playing Friday and he's not practicing all week. So I don't really know what to make of it, but I don't think he's a bust. I think that's way too soon to say. we actually need to see him hit the field first. What's your take on this, Mike?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Bust is reserved for people who have tried to play and can't hack it at this level. Being injured doesn't equate to a bust. You can call him a disappointment. I'm disappointed he hasn't been able to contribute in any facet. I'm disappointed he hasn't been able to practice. But let's be honest. I mean, he's under control for the next 5 years. I'm not going to base it off of 2 preseason games where he probably would have only played a couple of reps anyway. And call him a bust. So I'd rather him heal up instead of rushing out there and getting injured. And it sounds like everything that I've heard, they're kind of holding him back, not the other way around. They're saying that it's a shoulder thing. He's got the shoulder brace on, but he wants to go out there, and they're like, no, guys, chill, take it easy. We want you to be healthy because when we need you, we're going to need you. So yeah. I prefer the precaution in preseason. If this was playoff time or something like that, or we were down 3 receivers and he's got like, oh, I got this little tweak in my shit. Look, come on, man. Like, let's go. We need you. Like, that's different.
Yeah. That's what I also think. Kyle Shanahan, every time he's asked about it, he's been very adamant. We just don't want this to become a reoccurring problem. And to be honest, I think he's got a little PTSD from Debo's shoulder injury. Debo had that injury in Cleveland, and he basically battled it throughout the year. And I'm pretty sure it was the same shoulder that he got hit in when they played Green Bay in the playoffs, and then that knocked him out of that game. So I think maybe he's just like, you know what? I know how finicky this can be. Let's just play it safe. None of these games mean anything. We can have a chance to show our younger receivers. I do think he's kind of pissed off because it gave him maybe some leverage. It cost him some leverage with the Ayuk negotiations where he can't say, hey, I have a first-round pick out there that just had 100 yards in his first preseason game. He had 70 yards in the second. The kid looks great. That is no longer an option, so he has to go to the negotiating table with what he does have, but maybe it's not the worst thing. And Joe Boyd, I'm disagreeing with you. This is not the worst offseason ever. There was a season where Jim Harbaugh left and like 25 Niners retired, okay? And his team plunged straight into obscurity. We're in a good spot. I think Trent Williams will be back soon. I think Ayuk will be extended. Then if you want to argue over whether or not that cost the team maybe a couple games to start the year because maybe they weren't in tip-top shape, maybe they weren't on the same page, I get that. I would be on the same page with you there. I just don't think that that's that big of a deal to be the worst offseason ever for the 49ers. So let's go back to this Saints game. Sorry, did you have something to say, Mike?
No, I was just going to agree with you on everything that you said. And if they were trying to use these rookie or the receiving core as leverage against Ayuk, if anything, Ayuk's money just went up after watching these preseason games. I'm not trying to be funny at all, but like even the veterans on this team and Danny Gray and Ronnie Bell and all these guys, like it is it is it's just something, man. It didn't work out in their favor at all if that was the cards they were trying to play. But again, old dog learning new tricks. You talked about running Debo out there when maybe you didn't have to or whatever, and then you're going to learn like, hey, listen, maybe it wasn't even like a negative thing with Debo, like, oh, should we play him or should we not play him? It's like, all right, I got this injury, but I feel healthy enough to go out there and play. He says it. He re-injures the injury, re-injures the shoulder in the postseason. Can you still see me? Am I moving on your screen? Okay.
No.
There he goes. I don't know why it's doing that. But he re-injures the shoulder when he said that he was fine to play. So now you got another receiver in your ear saying the same thing. It's like, all right, this sounds familiar. Here's deja vu. You're gonna sit your ass out. Like this, we got a bigger plans here. So,
yeah. By the way, I know it's hard as fans because we're so focused on our team that we don't really put into perspective what other. I'm just gonna say the Vikings have had about as tough of an offseason as anybody. I mean, for crying out loud, they literally lost a player. He died. Like a rookie DB died in a car accident. Their rookie quarterback is out for the year with meniscus surgery. Like they have gone through some tough couple months. So just put it in perspective. We got 2 players with contract negotiations and 1 player with a minor shoulder that the 49ers are babying. I'm fine with that. Kyrie Jackson, exactly. RIP. Okay, back to this game. You spoke about Josh Dobbs. What did you think of his game? And do you think it was enough to maybe earn him that QB2 spot. Last time we talked, Mike, both of us said there really wasn't a movement as far as Allen or Dobbs. What did you think after Sunday night?
Yeah, I think Dobbs kind of edged out Brandon Allen. I still think that Allen operates well in the structure of the offense, but what Dobbs showed us is if things are breaking down, if players are dropping passes and all that, I can do a little bit more with the ball. I think he's got a little bit more zip on his passes. I didn't think that after the first game. I think he's got a little bit more zip on his passes, maybe the velocity, than what Brandon Allen has. So I like that a lot. And I'm not going to lie to you, man. I even think Mordecai looked pretty decent out there. I know we're on Dobbs right now, but Brandon Allen is an afterthought in my mind right now. So I was actually very happy with Dobbs. And it's not that, it was he blew out Brandon Allen or anything like that. I just think that he could fill in well if we needed someone to come in for a game or two in this system. I think he would be okay.
Yeah. I mean, and clearly he has the knowledge to do it. We saw him last year come in, and I mean, he was great with the Cardinals. I went to that Niners Cardinals games last year where he gave the Niners a good run for their money. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, he was balling out, and then he gets traded to Minnesota after Kirk goes down. Starts a handful of games for them. He was good. He was a solid QB. He started the year with Cleveland. People don't remember that. And then when Kyler wasn't going to be healthy, the Cardinals traded for him. He finished the game as the 49ers not only leading passer, but leading rusher as well. Yeah. He finished 12 for 21 with 133 yards, which is pretty good considering he only played about a quarter and a half. And then he finished the game for 3 carries, 25 yards, and that rushing touchdown right before halftime. I think I was taken back a bit by his speed. I didn't think that he had that gear still. And there was a play where he was scrambling. He probably ran about 50 yards east and west to get the first down. It was really impressive. And seeing him be able to elude the defenders that were in the backfield already, and I was certain we're going to catch up to him. It was impressive. Yeah. He definitely has that extra game to his game.
So there's this thing that Purdy does that kind of drives me crazy. He was doing it as a rookie where he would turn his back to the line and try to spin out to his left. I know it looks like I'm pointing to my right, but it's inverted. So he spins out to the left and then tries to make a play. Dobbs did the same thing in this game. And I was like, oh my God. And I thought he was going to run right into the defender. But when he spun that way, he turned his head even further and saw the defender. So he took an extra step and went around the defender. I was very, very impressed with that scrambling ability. And it was, by the way, it was nothing that the tackle did wrong in that moment. He could have stepped up, but he had already had his back turned. And obviously the tackle that's defending the defender, he couldn't see which way Dobbs was going. So he just had to do his job at that point. And Dobbs took an extra step, got around the defender. And like you said, that 10-yard run that he had, he ran a total of 50-plus yards. I mean, he ran all the way to one sideline and went all the way back around and went up the left side to get the first down. So it was pretty cool to see. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah. So Dobbs definitely took a step up for QB2 for both of us. Maybe he solidified it. Maybe he didn't. We'll see Friday what happens. But I think the kind of talking point on offense after Sunday night had to have been Jacob Cowing, right? Am I right? Was that who stood out for you on offense after watching the game? He finished 3 receptions, 51 yards, or 4 receptions, 51 yards, including that beautiful sideline catch right before half. What are your thoughts on Cowing?
Yeah, no, Cowing looks like he's going to be a player. And it as a 4th option, 5th option, maybe even on this team. And I'm talking about just at the receiver position. I'm not talking about total options because we know about how this team is stacked. If that's your worst receiver on the roster, you're doing something good. He even showed some value in special teams as well. So I think that he played well enough to make me not have to worry about number 19 making this roster. So I like Dobbs. Yeah. Oh. 19, by the way, is not Debo.
Yeah, it took me a second.
19 is Trent Taylor, just so everyone is clear. 19 is Trent Taylor. All right. So, yeah, I was worried that Trent Taylor, after the first preseason game, I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to make this roster. And I said it from the moment we picked him up in the offseason, like, if he makes this roster, we're in trouble. So now I'm back to feeling that way again. I feel like, yes, someone is going to get him out of here. Because let's be honest, how many wide receiver spots are there up for grabs? The Niners are going to keep 5 or 6 wide receivers, and
Two or three
Pearsall is
tops.
going to make the roster without ever playing in preseason. He's a first-round pick. He's going to make the roster, right? You got Pearsall, you got Ayuk, you got Debo, okay?
Jennings.
You definitely got Jennings. What are we talking? 1 or 2 positions?
Yep.
Ronnie Bell.
Last year they kept 6, I think, right?
Yeah, I think they had 6.
And I still think Conley makes it, but
that's right. Yeah.
So then that basically leaves one spot. Is it Cowing? Is it Bell, who can't seem to fucking catch anything? Danny Gray,
Tay Martin.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I it's got to be Cowing. He's the only one who showed something this preseason. He's the newest draft pick. I like Ronnie Bell, but let's be honest, 7th round pick from last year. I think maybe his insane preseason production from last year earned him that spot. And he didn't do too much with it during the season. I think he caught 1 touchdown. He was good on special teams, but I'm no disrespect, it's replaceable. It's not above replaceable. It's replaceable.
At one point, he was like 3 catches and 3 touchdowns. I don't know if that was this season or last season or the one before. I'm talking about Ronnie Bell in particular. He was like
he was a rookie last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. So it must have, like, he started 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns. I think he finished the season with like 6 or something. I forget. It wasn't a ton of receptions, but that's what you want in the last option of the receivers and Kittle and McCaffrey. Like, that guy, you got to win your reps. You're going against literally the worst that the other opposing team has to offer. So we want you to be that guy. So he did his job when they asked him to do it. But this game in particular, this preseason game, I felt like they said, all right, let's see what you really got. And they gave him plenty of opportunities. I don't know how many targets he finished the game with, but the return on investment didn't show right there.
No. I mean, think of a Juwan Jennings has basically made a career out of this, being the worst receiver on the field for the 49ers. That's why on 3rd downs and goal-to-go situations, he's been so clutch. Maybe that's not why I should say he should be clutch. That's why he's targeted, I should say. The clutch is all credit to Juwan, but he's targeted because opposing defenses focus on taking Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle out of the game. That leaves Juwan usually one-on-one with the team's 3rd best defender, and he's going to win that. He's just going to win that. So that's what you're saying. Imagine having receivers below him that are just as good, if not worse, or if not better, good luck. Good luck.
And that's why we fell in love with the Trent Taylors in the first place, right? Trent Taylor was the big 3rd down conversion guy. He wasn't going to be the yak guy or anything like that. But when he was first here, he was the 3rd option or 4th option. Then it was Kendrick Bourne, 3rd or 4th option. And then it was Juwan Jennings, right? Those are the guys that we fall in love with because they move the chains. Like, that's what they were doing. Like, that was their job. But again, it's exactly what you just said. They are they're going up against the worst defender on the opposing team. So that's why they're supposed to shine that way. I like it.
All right. So we talked about Dobbs. We talked about Cowing. Who else on offense? How about the rookie, Dominic Pooney? What'd you think of him?
I like him, man. I really, 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 really like this guy. I mean, everyone's been talking about him. You guys don't need me to say it. He's a guy that likes to have his hands on someone. There was literally a play where he had no one, so he's turning and looking for someone to hit. He helps out with the center. Then he was like, all right, you got him now. I'm going to go up here. And he gets to the 2nd level. His head is constantly on a swivel. He's looking to help out. He's looking to make contact every single play. And he holds up well in pass protection as well. So I can't say anything that hasn't already been said. I think he's going to end up being the starter, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, Kyle said today on KBR, I don't know if you saw it, it was kind of a Freudian slip, but they were talking about, why'd you let Purdy out there without the starters? He goes, well, he's out there with the starting basically the starting offensive line. He's got the starting center, starting right guard, starting right tackle, and everyone's like, "Oh, starting right guard, huh? Okay, well, that's who Pooney
Yeah.
was." So he's a starting
He
right
said,
guard.
yep, potentially both starting tackles. We know what's going on with Trent, but as of right now, this may be the week one starting line. The starting center was out there, our starting right guard. So he was out there with everyone except Trent. Like, yeah, so Freudian slip.
There was a clip I saw, I think Baldy posted it, and it was in the red zone. The 49ers drop back, and it might have been the one you were talking about where he doesn't really have a man on him. So he helps out with the chips to the center, and then he does like a spin and goes back around to help McKivitz. And I mean, the kid is just extremely talented. And then later on, or earlier in the game, I think when Purdy was still in, he had Cam Jordan and Fitz. I mean, Cam Jordan could not get past him, and it looked effortless from Pooney. He's just sitting there, just blocking him. It was really impressive. Cam Jordan is a all-pro, Pro Bowl, elite pass rusher, probably 10-year vet at this point. So to see him as a rookie in your second NFL action, be able to just handle him was really impressive. I'm extremely ecstatic for him moving forward. If the 49ers offensive line was no longer a weak point of this offense, the fucking sky's the limit. I mean, imagine if Brock Purdy's not constantly under duress from the middle, because that's usually where it hits, from the middle or from Colton McKivitz. Damn, man, that'll be good. And not to mention, sorry, not to cut you off, but Jarrett Kingston as well. He's also looked good. I think he was a 6th round pick, but the kid's come in and he's looked good every chance he's gotten. Yeah,
even Nugent, the undrafted guy, he's even looking really, really, really good out there as well. And this is kind of like biting Chris Kocurek in the butt, saying, I don't need these. Well, I'm not saying it's biting him in the butt. You give me whoever, and I'm going to make these guys better. I'm going to make them work, right? He's like, I don't need it to be first round or second round guys. I'm going to go out there and make it work with what I got. And he is putting his money where his mouth is. But imagine if the Niners invested some first round talent into the offensive line every once in a while. Once you get the quarterback locked up, you got your receivers locked up, you can start doing that then. Then you can start. If we need one more edge guy that we know down in and down out we can depend on opposite of Bosa, and the defensive tackles are going to continue to rotate. I mean, we can start investing some higher picks in the offensive line once we get everything solidified this year. I think that the sky is the limit for the Niners. People thinking that the Super Bowl window is closing, and I think you guys got another thing coming. I really, really do.
I mean, hitting on one draft class, even a couple players, I'll be the first to admit, this time last year, I think I predicted the Rams would win 5 games. I predicted Matt Stafford's spine would snap by week 4. I did not think they would finish. They hit on their fucking draft class. Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua. I think they had a DB that hit on really hard. And that just prolonged their playoff window by a couple of years in and of itself. Now, who knows what's going to happen because Stafford, redid his contract, and I think he's a free agent after this year now. But regardless, if the 49ers hit on 3 or 4 picks, if they find starters in this draft class in 3 or 4 picks, that is just going to do so much that they desperately need to bring their median age down of their roster because they're the oldest in the NFL right now. And that would do exactly that. And again, we haven't even seen their first round pick. But Mike, I think you hit on it with next year, if maybe after next year, because they got to get Purdy locked up, but then you got your receivers locked up, you got Kittle locked up, you got your linebacker locked up, you got your pass rusher locked up, you got a receiver, 2 receivers under contract under rookie contracts. We might see a first round left tackle because Trent's not going to play that much longer, even though I know he wants that contract modification right now. I can't see him playing more than 2 to 3 more years. So maybe we'll see a first round pick on a tackle to replace Trent.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
And the oldest roster is indeed a thing, but we got to understand also we drafted the oldest rookie class too.
Right. It's by design.
Yes. Right. Exactly. They don't want to get these guys who don't have their adult strength yet. They don't want to have to worry about strengthening these guys necessarily. Now we can just come in here and focus on just technique, regardless of what the position is. route running for the receivers, blocking for the offensive linemen. You know what I mean? These guys have their speed. These guys have their power. All right, let's only focus on technique and getting better at what it is we're asking you to do in our system. I think that it was probably a really good thing, if we're being honest. So I'm not worried about the age of these guys. It's all about football years now. Right. That's what I'm worried about.
All right. Steve says oldest roster by like months, 26.2 versus 27. It makes a difference. That's all I'm saying. It does make a difference. And it's not like it's 26.9 versus, it's still 0.8 of a year on average.
It's almost a whole year. Yeah, it's almost a whole year.
Let's see. Raphael, how do you feel about Drake Jackson? He's ever going to have now, my guy, Joe, that's a bust. I think Joe was the one who said that Ricky might be a bust. I'm sorry. I love Drake. I was rooting for him. I was championing him last year. I just don't think he'll see it. I mean, that he had the injury that a lot of players don't come back from. And he just had to have surgery on it again. So
while I'm with you on he might be a bust, I'm super curious to know if this season will count as an accrued season or does he revert back to the Niners on another year? Because you have to play a certain amount to accrue seasons. I don't know how it works for injuries. And
that's a good question.
I've tried looking it up, and it's just too much minutia to get through the fine print. I mean, I'm sure someone out there knows.
We need Jay. Is it Jay from Over the Cap or
Jason Hurley?
Jason, we need him to advise on this. Okay. Yeah. Last positive, and then we'll get into some negatives for the game. How about fucking Presley Harvin, the punter? That dude was pinning the Saints in their own 10-yard line every single punt.
Effortlessly, too. And this wasn't like someone standing on the goal line and batting the ball back.
No.
Either. The ball was bouncing at the 3, and the defender's like, oh, I'm letting this one go over my head. I got my heels on the 10. It's going to go into the end zone. Look at the trajectory. But he had this backwards spin on these punts where the ball would either go backwards or straight up in the air and allowing the unit to get down there. Oh, man, beautiful. The only issue with him is that he's not consistent. He'll have a stretch of phenomenal games. I was talking to her name is D Love Sports. Mm-hmm. She's a Steelers fan. And I was talking to her about it, and she was like, yeah, like this guy, like he'll have plenty of times where he looks phenomenal, like the best punter in the entire NFL. And then there's other times like, dude, you shanked 3 punts this game. Like you can't leave a game and average 20 yards a punt. Like we might as well just went for it on 4th down. So he just doesn't stay consistent. I think it helped in this game in particular that Mitch Wisnowski dressed and was active and playing. So it's kind of like, all right, like this guy's here if you fuck up. And so it's like, all right, let me go ahead and show them what I can really do. It allowed him to really focus and hone it in. You know what I'm saying? So, and that was also something I didn't understand. Why was Mitch Wisnowski holding in this game? I still don't understand it. Like
I forget what injury. Doesn't he have like a knee injury or an ankle injury or something?
It's some kind of leg. It's something in his lower extremities, but I don't know what the injury is. So,
dare I say the 49ers might be able to get like a 6th-round pick for him? Maybe. I don't know. Harvin's look good. I think there's a good amount of teams that would be happy to have him.
All right, so let me ask you this really quick. I know you want to get to the negatives. You're talking about potentially trading Harvin. What about Dobbs? If someone came to you and said,
I thought you were going to say Dobbs, trade Mitch.
No. I'm not going to do the punter controversy right now. I'm not going to do that yet. Not yet. Let's see what happens on Friday night. But what do you think? Like if someone came knocking and offered you a 5th. I know I asked you guys this after the first preseason game. I'm asking you now, after seeing Dobbs, would you maybe consider trading him? If there's not a ton of separation between him and Brandon or even Mordecai, would you possibly consider trading Dobbs right now?
For 5th? You know, it's funny because I think the first time you asked me that, I think I said I would trade him for 7th.
I thought you said a bag of Lay's. So
yeah, something like that. Something like that. I would be tempted. My only concern, and I'm knocking on wood as I'm saying this, is last year was the first year we saw Kyle Shanahan not have quarterback injuries in 4 years.
Oh God.
So hopefully, I wouldn't want them to trade Dobbs and then Purdy have to miss a game or two, and now you're at Brandon Allen or Tanner Mordecai, who could be good, but it's a much larger unknown than Josh Dobbs is. So I see Dion says nothing less than a fourth for Dobbs. Maybe. I'd say maybe. I would definitely consider it. Would you for a fifth?
Yes. And I'd be calling the Minnesota Vikings. You guys had them last year. You guys are relying on the Red Rocket. I think that was Andy Dalton. What do they call? Does Sam Darnold have a nickname?
It's the Red Rifle, bro.
Shit. What did I call
the Red Rocket?
Oh, wait. Is that what they call the dog's pink thing when you get happy? Is that what the Red Rocket? Oh, my bad. He's not a dick. I did not mean. Oh, maybe that is Sam Darnold's nickname. I don't know. But oh, my bad. I did not mean to do Red Rifle. You're absolutely right. It's 100%. I'm turning red while I'm laughing.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Okay. But yeah, so I mean, I just think that it might be something that they could have. Like we got a whole other preseason game, and God forbid another quarterback goes down somewhere, people would be calling about Dobbs. He is that veteran that teams want as the backup now. He's becoming the new Gardner Minshew, or the new, what was the dude's name with the beard? Buffalo, and he played everywhere.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, like he's becoming the new Fitzpatrick. So I like it. It's good for the Niners, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, negatives.
Well, I noticed you didn't talk about the defense. So, I mean, is this going to be one of the negatives?
No. There were good things on the defense. I was just trying to keep it brief. But let's talk about the defense. I think Mustafa looked good again for the second straight week. I think Renardo Green looked a lot better. Last week, he looked kind of shaky, maybe a little slow at times. He wasn't as sticky. This week, he was great. He was sticky. He was matching up with Chris Olave, and he was running step for step. I saw a couple pass breakups, one on the sideline. I was really impressed with Green. Trying to think for defense, who else stood out to me?
A lot of people were high on Darrell Luter Jr.
He looked good. He had a couple of whiffs, but he looked better than I've used to seeing him. I'll say that much. I take it you didn't really like what we saw.
It was, like he had this big PBU in the end zone, but it was just his body in the way. Like he didn't get a hand up or anything like that. I don't know if the ball hit his helmet or the back of his jersey or whatever. He just happened to not get a pass interference call. Like, and what worried me about that was if the receiver just turned and ran towards him because it was an underthrown pass, it's a flag. Because he never turned around, he didn't play the ball or anything like that, it would have been a flag. So while people are saying, this is an argument that Wayne and I got into while discussing it. He's like, Mike, it was a PBU. Like, what do you want him to do? I said, I want him to play on the ball. If the receiver just turned around and like put his arms and made contact with him, they get the ball on the one.
Yep.
So like, I don't want to judge a corner on happenstance or a judgment call, because the ref probably could have thrown a flag on that if he wanted to, but they didn't. So I want to see like more sound play from them for me to say, oh, this guy had a good game. I want to see a little bit more from Luter. I know the Niners want him to be something, and he's got all the physical attributes that you want in the corner. I just want to see him do it consistently. That's all.
We have a bit of a surprise here. Our guy Matt is here.
Surprise, motherfuckers.
Oh, let's go. What's up, baby?
Listen, the Padres were getting blown out, so I had to get out of there.
When you say blown out, baseball blown out is like down by 3, right?
It was at the point that we left, it was 10-0.
Oh,
holy okay.
Yeah.
That's football scores. Okay.
And my daughter was getting a little upset, so we were like, all right, we're gonna leave. But I figured I'd join you guys for a little while. I got another show at 8:30, but I'm in here to talk about some 49ers football. What'd we cover so far? Where are we at?
This is funny because we asking Matt to jump in during the negative segment.
Cool. All right. Purdy, trash. No, I'm just kidding. No, Purdy didn't have a lot to work with. I'm sure the narrative hogs out there are going to have a field day with it. I'm sure they have been. I don't really give a shit about that. My biggest problem is the depth on this team looks like it's not very good, particularly at wide receiver. Like they need to get Brandon Ayuk in the building like right now, like yesterday, because none of those other guys look like they can separate. Pearsall being injured is not very good. I'd like to see Cowing with like the starters this week. I'd like to see Cowing out there against a real NFL defense. Does he actually look good, or is this like a byproduct of, oh, you're playing against like third string cornerbacks, like that's why you went off? You know, elsewhere, man, some of that O-line is caca. Like legit, you got to get Trent Williams back in the building. So I think that's going to be a very big theme for the 49ers for the course of the season, is that they're very top heavy, but at some of the key positions, they're going to be very, very thin. So if you don't have the top guys in the building, or if they get injured or whatever, this team could be in a world of trouble, and it's really hard to stay healthy in the NFL. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I think overall, not terrible. Particularly, I'm impressed with the linebacker core. The young linebackers, they all look good. Jair Brown looking like he's still a dog, you know. Talanoa Hufanga better be careful, man. He might find himself the odd man out, because if Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown are playing well, like where does he go? Because my biggest issue with Talanoa Hufanga is that he gets greedy with those eyes and he gives up big plays. And even in his all-pro season, where he started out really hot, towards the end of the year, he started giving up a lot of big plays, and I don't like that. You're coming back from an ACL injury. You already weren't the most athletic dude out there, and now you're behind the 8 ball even more. So Talanoa Hufanga, I know a lot of people like him, but at the same time, if he's not the best guy to go out there, it's time to get gone, particularly because he's in a contract year this year. So he's got to show out or get the fuck out.
And anyway. Mike and I talked about that last week too, and we kind of got some pushback from the chat saying, "Oh, we don't like Huff anymore. Like, what happened?" And I was like, Matt would be the first one to tell you. We've been talking about this since last year. How concerning some of his plays. There is a comment in here.
The thing that broke me on Talanoa Hufanga that made him a suspect player for myself was the Miami game, Purdy's first game. In Talanoa Hufanga bit on an underneath route to Jalen Waddle and let Tyreek Hill go free and clear right behind him. And I'm like, you listen, if there's anybody that you can't just let run by you, it's Tyreek Hill. The fact of the matter is, he bit on that so hard, like as if Jalen Waddle was going to be. Listen, give it up to the underneath guy. Miami's going to kill you with speed. The last thing that you can do is try to get greedy and then give up a tutty to Tyreek Hill because you just weren't paying attention. That was where I was just like, I don't know if I really like this dude. Like, he's playing really well. Don't get me wrong. He's had some really good plays. You know, recovering that fumble against Green Bay in the playoffs for the touchdown was like a huge thing. But like, at the end of the day, it's what have you done for me lately? And a guy who wasn't athletic coming out, which was the big knock on him, which is why he went so late coming out of USC, was like a 4.59 guy or something like that. Dude, you got defensive ends that are running 4.59s now. So if you're already losing a step and you're going to be peaking, I don't know if we can abide by that.
I want to bring up this comment and get you guys' thoughts on it. 2 games in, am I the only one thinking Nick Sorensen looks lost on the sidelines in his elevated position? Nick Sorensen, obviously new defensive coordinator, took over after Steve Wilkes got fired after the Super Bowl. What are your guys' thoughts on this? I know people are saying, oh my God, the run defense looks like trash. I'm not going to say that. We haven't even seen the starters yet. I think that's a bit of a rush to judgment. But do you guys think he looks over his head? Do you guys think he looks out of his league? What's your take on this? Mike, you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not in panic mode just yet. But the fundamentals for the defense, like the last 2 seasons, like where's the tackling? I don't know if anyone's tracking it, but the Niners have to be towards the top of the league in missed tackles throughout this preseason. And that was a problem that they had down the stretch and in the postseason as well. Like, you know, like forget busted assignments. Even when the assignments were right, like you got to make these tackles, right? Like this is basic stuff. Like secure the tackle first. Stop trying to strip the ball and all that stuff. We used to be a team where the first guy there would hold the guy up and then someone would come in and try to punch the ball out or something. And it seems like now everyone's focused on punching the ball out before the ball carrier is secured. And that's not a good way to play ball. And so I don't know if that's Sorensen's responsibility to teach tackling fundamentals and all that stuff, but you have the title. And when the defense fails for whatever the reason is, whether it be coverage, whether it be tackling and assignments and all that, like you are going to get the microscope thrown on you. And the last thing we want is to see Kyle Shanahan in the postseason worrying about defensive play calls and how the defense is performing, because we saw how that has a negative effect in the Super Bowl.
100%. Go ahead, Matt.
I definitely think it's something to keep an eye on in the early season. I hesitate to do too much hand-wringing over Sorensen just because, again, preseason through 2 weeks, who's really scheming up anything? And the fact of the matter is, like you talked about, we really haven't seen a lot of the starters. So in terms of missed tackles and things like that, some of the guys that have stood out to me, not missing tackles, Jair Brown, one of the starters, right? You think about somebody like, we did see a missed tackle from Winters, who's like looking like he's going to be coming on. But again, young guy, a lot of the bad players are going to be missing tackles. And I think that's just, again, we're talking about guys that are trying to play for a roster spot or maybe even a practice squad spot or auditioning for another team or whatever. These are not exactly the who's who of the NFL. And if you watch a lot of college football, you understand that college players miss a lot of tackles. And not every college player is going to be an NFL player. And when you get some of these guys that are fringe NFL guys, you're going to see a lot more of the mental mistakes, a lot more of the physical mistakes. You're going to see missed tackles. You're going to see blown coverage. You're going to see all these things. You're going to see it from the rookies. You're going to see it from the young guys. What you hope is that when you get your superstars in, when you see your Leonard Floyd and your Nick Bosa and your Malik Collins, and your Javon Hargraves and your Fred Warners, right? And Dre Greenlaw, if and when he returns this season, the Deommodore Lenoirs and the Charvarius Wards, those guys shouldn't be missing tackles. Those are the guys that you really care about missing tackles. And if they're missing tackles, then I'm going to be getting on Sorensen's ass, because that's been a theme for this team, like Mike said, for a couple of years now. They haven't been fundamental. The other thing to note too, guys, is this is the first season with the ban on the hip drop tackle. So everybody is learning a new form of tackling, and everybody has to fight the instinct to do that hip drop when somebody gets by them. I think we're going to see around the league a lot of missed tackles early as teams try to adjust their tackling form to get used to that new rule, particularly in the secondary when you're trying to take down a bigger player. So that'll be something to keep an eye on.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Mike, do you have something to add?
I still don't know how you're supposed to tackle someone in the secondary if they're past you. I'm not even kidding.
Literally, you're just going to hold them up and let somebody else clean them up. But then that runs into the problem of, are they trying to prevent concussions or what? Somebody's
leg going to get trapped underneath and snap.
Yeah. You're going to have guys injuring their own teammates then at that case. You know what I mean? It's risky, and I do understand what you're saying, Matt. I don't get why we haven't played more of these guys. Why no Leonard Floyd at all? I understand he's the veteran, why you brought him in here, right? But I'm going to knock on wood when I say this. He's quite literally the Iron Man. I mean, since they've gone to 17 games, he's played in all 17 games. When it was 16 games, he had one season where he didn't play 2 seasons in his entire career where he didn't play all 16 games. And those were his rookie and second year. Ever since then, he's played in every game. I think it's okay to give him a couple of reps in preseason. This guy clearly knows how to take care of his body. I don't get why we're not playing them at all.
Maybe we'll see him Friday.
Maybe. Yeah, it's just it's weird. And Matt, that was a really, really good point about the whole tackling thing. But I saw some head-to-head missed tackles, not even from behind,
for sure. But to answer your question, Mike, how's a DB? Listen, you got to wrap them up and then be like Brock Lesnar, take them to Suplex City, baby. That's what you're gonna have to do.
So what you mean is Dre Greenlaw style tackles that everyone was saying were penalties.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what's going to have to be. That's what's going to have to be. They're going to figure it out. I mean, they're going to figure out, I guess, if you can't do the literal hip drop, maybe you just grab onto them and then dead weight yourself without technically dropping your hips. Maybe you just do the thing like you ever seen a kid who crawls up to their dad and grabs onto their leg and then the dad starts dragging him? You know how the kid is just splayed out like Superman, just holding on?
Yeah.
That might be how it has to be, because technically that's not a hip drop. The hip drop is where they're talking, you wrap them and then you drop your legs to a point where the hip goes like into the back of them. But like if you don't technically drop your hips, you just like fall to the ground, right? And go like dead leg or whatever. But you're in like a straight line
and wrap around their legs. Maybe, like,
maybe.
Remember
You got to do that.
Koala bears on the pins.
Yeah, you got to do that. The girl who runs through the airport to her man who she hadn't seen in forever or whatever, wrap her leg. Maybe we're gonna get NFL gonna be rated PG-13 or something coming up. But
what's crazy is that literally they had a training video on how to tackle properly. That's now banned. Like, that was the hip drop tackle. That was a form that was taught to players coming into playing tackle football at all ages, and it's now banned. So they're trying to prevent injuries. I think they're going to end up maybe causing more from this, but we'll see. Anyway,
or just completely neutering defense.
Right? Yeah. Or we're going to see 50 points a game per team. Okay, so we talked about defense, offense, what we liked. Now we can go into, Matt, you talked about a little bit what you didn't like. Mike, what stood out to you the most from this team negatively Sunday night? What were you most unhappy with?
Yeah, no, it was definitely the missed tackles for me. I still just don't like seeing sloppy defensive football. I don't think that's the 49ers way. Back before we ever had good offenses, I'm talking about the Tom Sula head coach year, the Singletary, the Nolan, all of those teams, the one thing you could depend on was a competitive game because the defenses were good. We are slowly getting away from that as a 49ers team. And 25 points in the Super Bowl isn't terrible, but like, I mean, come on, like we're better than that. And that last touchdown was it wasn't even contested. Like they just marched right down the field on us. Like with your team having a lead, get the stop and win the game, right? Like that's where we were. It was easy. It was light work for them. You know what I'm saying? Like I just remember seeing all the mic'd up things. I can't believe they took the ball. I can't believe they took the ball first. Like, oh guys, you go out there. It doesn't matter. We're gonna win this game now. Like Kansas City was so sure that regardless of what the outcome was of our first drive, they were gonna win that game. I had never seen a team so confident in verbalizing it out loud. Like as soon as we said receive, they're taking the ball. I can't believe, like they were yelling that right after the coin toss. Like after we said we're going to receive the ball, it's like, oh my God. And so we got to get back to the fundamentals. That's my overall biggest concern. A lot of these guys are going to be coming in, and the players that we're judging harshly in the third and fourth quarters of these preseason games, you got to remember one thing about that. They're going to be playing with 10 or 9 or at worst 8 other starting players. So they're not going to be the glaring weaknesses out there. It's not going to be like, what we saw with all 11 of those defensive players being replacement level guys. So we have to keep that in mind, but we have to get back to the basics here.
Can I say something without, is this a safe space? Can I say something?
Oh,
without
yeah.
Getting,
Do it.
chewed out? The fuck happened again to Jake Moody? That kick that he missed, it wasn't like hit the off bars. It wasn't like the wind cut. That was a fucking shank. He kicked that thing and it went 90 degrees the wrong way. Do we have a kicker problem, guys? Like, is this something that's going to plague us in October and November and December again? Am I going to be holding my breath every time this dude kicks a field goal? Like, what the hell?
He was 75% in the game. So, I mean,
but the miss was egregious.
It was terrible. I don't know how you missed by that kind of margin and in your home stadium. Like that's the worst part with it all. Like this is where you were supposed to be the man. Like this is your turf. But I'm confident in Moody. If I'm being honest with you, I'm confident in him. I think he's going to get the job done. And the one thing I like about him, after a miss, he's usually spot on for the next 10 attempts. So I'll take it. Get the miss out the way. It's almost like how we were with Jimmy Garoppolo. Hurry up and throw your interception so you can focus and then be good, right? Do you guys remember when that was like the story around Jimmy Garoppolo? It was like, all right, let's get this pick out the way because we know one is coming in this game at some point. Let's go ahead and get it out the way, right?
The drive after a pick is always a touchdown.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, Mike McGlinchey, where's your one bad play coming? You're gonna whiff. And then what the bad thing with Mike McGlinchey was always at like one of the last two drives, right? So it's like, oh my God, McGlinchey's terrible. You can have a perfect game, but here comes the one bad play where you get a sack fumble because of Mike McGlinchey, right? Like, let's go ahead and get that shit out the way.
You
so
look
can
over and
refocus.
he's sideways in the air. What
Yeah.
the hell?
It's like, what are you doing? So let's go ahead and get it out the way. I'm confident in Moody this year. He'll probably finish the season over 80%. I do think that. So I'm not gonna flip out on him just yet. But it was a very egregious miss.
It was an egregious miss. I'm not too worried about it anyway. I don't think most people would be worried about it if we didn't just watch Brandon Aubrey kick a 66-yard field goal for the Cowboys that would have been good from 72. Like he hit 66 and not, when Justin Tucker set the record, it like barely like went over. I think it hit the crossbar and went over, right? Like, dude, Aubrey hit this thing and it hit the net. Like it went all the way through and hit the net. Like, so Next Gen Stats said it would have been good from 72, which is insane. I think maybe that's the future of kicking right there, is that we're gonna hit 60-yarders become the new 50-yarders. But yeah, I don't know, man. Every kicker's gonna have some really bad misses. Justin Tucker, every year, for whatever reason, inexplicably will miss like an extra point or two, all the best kickers do. Adam Vinatieri would every now and again this was before they moved, by the way, the extra point back to where it is now. Vinatieri from the, where they snapped it from the 2-yard line would miss extra points every now and again. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me.
Okay. Any other negatives from this game, or shall we move on?
No, but I will say that the biggest improvement this game was special teams, without a doubt, in my opinion. Oh, I do have a negative for you guys. The run game.
Yes.
Oh, it was bad.
Where the fuck is the rushing attack?
Like I said, Dobbs finished as the leading rusher with 25 yards.
What?
Yep.
You had a guy who had a long of 12 and finished like 12 of 12 or something like that. Like, hold on, I gotta find it. It was Schrader.
But these are a lot of scrubs though, man. Like Mason was out with injury. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey didn't play. Garendo is not playing or practicing right now. So you got undrafted rookie Cody Schrader out there, and I don't care if he led the Big 12 in yards or whatever the fuck it was. Like, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, he's not an NFL guy. He was undrafted. So you got a whole lot of nothing along with a whole lot of nothing. My biggest negative, Mike, when you talk about where's the running game, why the fuck did they play Brock Purdy? What was the point of that? It feels to me like they kind of hung his ass out to dry a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it was Brock Purdy and like the Arena League team against the Saints, like actual defensive starters. Right. And the Saints, I think, were 8th in total defense last year. Like, why are you doing that to your quarterback, dude? Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, no, we did go over that, and that was a decision that Brock Purdy made. Actually, it was. He said that they asked him in Tennessee, do you want to play? And he said, yes, I need to get my game clock sped up. He said, in practice, they're not allowed to hit. They're not allowed to tackle me. And I wanted to get – and it looked like what he said. Once I heard his explanation for why – once I heard his explanation for why he wanted to be out there, he made that decision, not Kyle, not the team or anything. He said, I told them I want to be out there so I can get my game clock sped up. So, I mean, even that was worth it once it's all said and done. And – like Zach can tell you what the Kyle quote was, but it's basically our starting offensive line minus Trent Williams. So it was,
there you go.
Yeah.
AKA Dominic Pooney is the starting right guard for the 49ers.
Yes. We were just mad that he took the hit in a preseason game trying to extend the play. It's not worth it. Just if you're going to play in the preseason, just throw the fucking ball away.
Did you guys see the QB school thing on Brock Purdy's week 2 preseason? Yeah. I find it super funny that JT O'Sullivan's biggest nitpick was the fact that Purdy ran out of bounds for a sack rather than just like tossing it. And I kind of get it, but it's just like that kind of puts you in that position or that mindset of like, yeah, this is the preseason. He's just out there trying to get a little bit of timing.
And even with that play, if the person he's talking to, who was Willis, listened to what the fuck he was saying.
Yeah. That was the one where he didn't come back to the ball, right?
Yeah.
And then he got pushed out of bounds.
See him on the sideline afterwards, like saying, I'm telling you to come back to this spot. I'm pointing to where I want you to go.
Yeah.
And that part I loved. I loved seeing Brock Purdy taking the mantle of, I'm the starter, I'm the veteran quarterback. Yeah. Listen to what the fuck I'm saying. I'm telling you to come back to this spot. I'm pointing to it. You got to listen to me. I don't give a shit what that defender's telling you to do or what he's asking, like where he's pushing you or leading you towards. Like, come back to me. So I
Yeah.
like that. Even that negative, I thought had a positive spin on it.
All right, fellas, I got to get out of here. I just wanted to pop in and join you real quick. I got another show coming up. It's all about video games and shit. So you guys are interested, I'll give you guys a link. You guys can come watch afterwards. But
Go check it out, guys.
Yeah,
Post the link in the chat before you leave, man.
Yeah, I'll post it as soon as I go. So I think I got to start it. I don't know. I'm new to this running these things. Zach usually does this, so I'll figure it out as I go,
All right.
I guess. But
good luck.
Hopefully, much better showing from the 49ers all the way around on Friday. It is the dress rehearsal, so we'll see. But thanks, fellas. Thanks for letting me pop in. I'll see you guys next time.
All right. Have a good night. All right. So let's move on to this. Let me change the view back to Friday, previewing the 49ers' last preseason game versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Like Matt said, it's a dress rehearsal. Kyle said most of the starters are going to play. What are you looking forward to? What are you keeping an eye on the most? What are you evaluating the closest?
Yeah. I'm going to go right back to the run game. I am very intrigued to see which back starts this game. Apparently, Elijah Mitchell's back at practice. Isaac Orindo is back, who we haven't seen, another drafted player, a rookie. You got Matt Breida, who I thought this is the Matt Breida I was expecting. I don't know why I was expecting him in the first preseason game to look that way, because he had just signed less than 48 hours before that, right? My thing was like, oh, he knows the system. He's going to come in. He's 29 years old. He's his physical prime. He's going to come in and be able to play, but he's still got to learn the ins and outs of your offensive line and all that stuff. So I kind of held him to a standard a little too high. Not that he was great or anything like that in this last game, but he was significantly better than he was in the first one. I want to see who they run out there as the starters for this game, and I want to see an improvement in the run game. I want to see better blocking up front for these guys. That is going to be my sole focus, I think, on this game.
For me, obviously, Purdy. What rhythm are you going to have? Because I get it. Purdy did not look good in 3 drives. You could blame it on the receivers that, they weren't doing much. But literally the first play that Dobbs comes in, he hits, I think, Cowing or Martin across the middle and the offense started picking up right then. So I think it just had to do with he doesn't have that many reps, and he's not in a rhythm with those receivers. So I want to see what we'll see Friday from him. The running game, that was a really good one. Who's gonna start? I tweeted after the game, call me crazy, but I would be totally fine with Matt Breida making this roster. I think he has a speed element that the 49ers don't have right now. Now, I'm told Garendo has that. We haven't seen it. There was a chat in here that I am sorry I didn't save to bring up later, but with Breida looking good, Mason, looking like running back 2, Garendo being the rookie, and obviously you guys can see, Mike, is Elijah Mitchell on the outside looking in?
It's at 11:08. It was by Ronnie Montoya. And it's possible. It is possible. I know that I'll put it to you like this. If we don't see Mitchell in this game, this is going to sound super contradictory, but if we don't see him, his spot is secure. I feel like the only way they don't play Mitchell, is if they know for a fact they're just going to keep him no matter what. Otherwise, I want to see what you look like after the injury when you're finally healthy, and see, because I think we are all sold on Mason.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are all sold. Well, we know Christian McCaffrey, right? And I think a lot of us expected it to be the 3 M's back there, the McCaffrey, Mitchell, and Mason. Those were the 3 guys that we were expecting. But I would not discount Matt Breida at all, at all. Now, he fumbled, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he have a fumble in this past game? I just don't know if he's going to be that guy that they say you can't make this roster because you fumbled one time.
Might have been 2 weeks ago, but it wasn't last week.
Oh, okay. All right. So then, yeah. But it's or maybe he dropped the ball. Did we recover it? I forget. But Breida did have a fumble in the preseason at some point. I don't know if it was week 1 or 2, but he did fumble the ball. But here's what I do know. We've seen opening drives with Christian McCaffrey fumbling the ball. They're not just going to say you can't play now because you dropped the ball, you put the ball on the ground once. So I'm hoping that's not enough to just exclude someone from everything else that they can do well. Don't take the one off and just write someone out off because of that. I want to see some consistency. I think Breida can give you some consistency. I think that his time in the league, he's gotten better in pass pro in the times that he has to stay back and try to pick up a blitzer. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
I think it's a really good question. And Mitchell very well could be on the outside looking in. He's not the fastest. His rookie year, I think he finished with like 970 rushing yards, which is really impressive. But since then, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And, you know, if he stays healthy, I really do question whether or not the 49ers trade for Christian McCaffrey. Because maybe they think, why should we? We have 1,000-yard back in Elijah Mitchell. That doesn't happen. And they do end up trading for McCaffrey, obviously. And Mitchell hasn't really looked the same. I mean, even when he has plays, there's only been stints of kind of that old version of him that we saw his rookie year. I think it's very possible he's on the outside looking in, but we'll see.
I'll put my foot in my mouth. I said it even after we acquired Christian McCaffrey as a pure ball carrier, a runner of the ball. I liked what I saw from Mitchell more than what I saw from McCaffrey those first couple of games. But then there was the injuries, and then that was kind of the end of it all, you know. But as a pure ball carrier between the tackles, I was very, very impressed with what Mitchell was doing. It was a legit 5 or 6 yards a carry. It wasn't like a response because of a 30 or 40-yard rush. It was for real. Every time he touched the ball, here's 4, here's 5, here's 6, here's another 5, here's another 5. So we got to see. I don't know if that is still in him coming off of an injury. So,
okay. As far as Friday night, what are we looking for? Receivers.
Oh boy.
Debo, I imagine, will play a bit. Kyle said after the game Sunday night, or I think it was Monday morning, Ricky Pearsall would return to practice and play Friday. And then bam, yesterday, all of a sudden, just kidding, Ricky's not practicing and he's not going to play Friday. That's unfortunate, like I said earlier. But obviously, Ayuk's holding. I can't imagine he's playing. I mean, even if this contract gets signed tomorrow, he's not playing Friday, right? Do you think he would?
Not straight from practice. And John Lynch is trying to convince us that, oh, he's in great football shape. He's taking care of his body. He's doing what he needs to do. But there's no such thing as football shape without playing football.
They said the same thing last year with Bosa.
Mm-hmm. And
the
Bosa
year
would
before
be
that.
the first to admit, he'll be the first to admit that, you know, that holdout really messed me up. It took me a couple of weeks to get back to where I needed to be. Yeah.
Okay. Who's going to emerge at receiver? Like you said, are we going to see Cowling with the starters, or maybe Matt said that? I'm excited to see it because I think there's a real opportunity there for somebody to come up and take. Cowling put his hands on it last week. Is he going to completely steal it Friday night? Well, remains to be seen.
Yeah. What about a punt off?
Punt off.
Is Mitch Wisnowski. That's why I said Mitch. Okay, I get it. My brain was saying, okay, I got it. Will Wisnowski and Harvin go back and forth on punts? You know, like he was healthy enough to hold. And the thing with the holding for me was if it's blocked or something, you still got to go out there and pursue that guy. So his leg had to be healthy enough just in case something went wrong. What was he going to do in case there was a block? Just stand there and retreat? So what was the plan? So I'm interested to see what happens with the punter situation. Will Mitch Wisnowski get any punt attempts during this game? And also, how will the Niners handle kickoff? I want to see if they're aiming for the zone, if they're just going to kick it right into the end zone. You know, like I want to see how that's all going to play out. There's no real benefit to a squib kick anymore. It's all going to go over the line of both of the teams. And once it hits the ground, then that's when the opposing teams can move. You don't have to worry about over-kicking coverage or anything like that anymore. All of that is out the window. It's all about this landing zone and then moving and reacting. How many penalties will teams have? There was one in this game. I don't remember which one of the two teams it was on, but there was a penalty where a person moved their back foot. But they've all been declined. That's so. I'm playing the new Madden with the new kickoff rules, and it happened in one of my games. And if I accepted it or if I declined it, you got the ball in the same exact spot. So what's the purpose of the penalty then?
That is strange.
So I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that was like a glitch in Madden, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to learn the rule just like everyone else is. I have not seen a single ball go to the 15. There was supposed to be this rule where if it bounces a certain place and if it's down somewhere, then they start at the 15-yard line. I haven't seen that yet. Now, I haven't paid a bunch of attention to all the other preseason games. Maybe someone can point out a team in a game that it happened in, but I would like to go back and find that. But there is somehow, some way where the ball can go to the 15, to the 20, and the 30, I think. So I don't know. I got to see. I don't know.
Something else. The punt off is a great something to keep an eye on. Would be very fun to see. We'll see how that shapes up. Isaac Guerrero returned to practice today, I believe, if not yesterday. He will play Friday. I'm extremely excited to see him. That brings some much needed speed to this running back room. Nobody really other than Breida has that speed. And I've been talking about this since the first preseason game, but Cody Schrader, I heard for like a month, this kid's dope. This kid's got speed. This kid's got everything. I haven't seen it out there, and maybe it's because the offensive line, maybe not. I don't know, but none of the running backs have really looked good. Breida looked good at times, so I just want a running back to show me something, and I'd prefer it to be Guerrero since he's the draft pick, and he's the one that the 49ers have the most invested in outside of obviously McCaffrey and Mason and whatnot, but we'll see. We'll see. How about the secondary?
In the secondary, I think the starting positions are pretty much all locked up, and it does not include Hufanga. But I would like to see the nickel. I want to see Lenore back in the nickel spot. I want to see us, run out there on a third and long and see what Green looks like on the outside. With Lenore in there and with the rest of the starters, just to see how good it all looks. So I do want to see that. And this is all about analyzing depth. We have to remember what preseason is for. The starters are the starters. We know who those guys are going to be, especially on the Super Bowl team. But I want to evaluate some of the depth. I want to look at you're saying the secondary, and I don't think that they count, but the linebackers. I want to see who's going to really go out there and just take that spot. Is it Campbell? Campbell had a pretty solid game.
He looked good
this past week. DFF is up and down all the time. You know what I mean? There's guys out there. Winters, like who's going to go out there and put their stamp down? Like, hey, there is no Greenlaw right now. I'm him. I want to know who that's going to be. Do you know who it is right now? Like who's penciled in to be the guy starting next to Fred Warner?
It's got to be Campbell.
Yeah.
Do you disagree?
I don't disagree. You could have named anybody. I wouldn't disagree.
I think it's Campbell.
No,
I mean, the first depth chart they put out had Campbell. I don't think anything has changed that. Winters looked up and down in Tennessee, didn't play last week versus the Saints. So I would still think it's Campbell. I think he's got that veteran leg up over DFF or D Winters. And to be honest, I think DFF might be on the outside looking in. I don't know if Flanagan Fowles makes this roster.
Not the first person I heard say that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, is it Jalen Graham? Jalen Graham has looked good. Curtis Robinson, he looks great. He looks really good. He might start for all I know next to Fred. So
every time he makes a play, I'm like, who is that? Because he changed numbers, right? Didn't he change numbers?
He did. I'm pretty sure. I think he used to be 47.
I would have to pull it up, but I'm like, who was that? Oh shit! Is that who that was? Is that Graham? Like, so
Pulling it up
I
right
mean, not
now.
Graham.
Robinson.
Yeah, yeah. Is that Curtis Robinson? Like, so I have to like keep my eye on that because that is definitely
He
something
used to
that I
be
need to pay a little attention
59 and
to.
now he's 36.
Yeah, and 36 sounds like a DB number to me.
Yes. Yes. So Curtis Robinson, I'm excited to see more from. I think he's looked good. Secondary, definitely keeping an eye on. Will Mustafa continue and Green continue to improve? And then quarterback, if the starters play a full half, does that mean Dobbs, Allen, and Mordecai got to split 2 quarters? I mean, how does that? They're probably only going to see maybe at max 2 of those 3, right?
I don't think this is going to be treated as the standard dress rehearsal. The old third game, when they had 4 preseason games, the starters would play the first half and sometimes even the opening drive of the third quarter. We might just see these guys play the entire first quarter. We didn't see that last week. They might play the entire first quarter. It was 3 drives, and they were quick drives, by the way. It was 2 3-and-outs, and then there was another one that had 1 first down in there, maybe 2, and then that was it. So we might see them play the whole first quarter if they're quick like that. But we have to see. Kyle might be happy with the starters going out there with just one long, sustained drive and say, all right, that's it. I don't care if it was 7 or 8 plays. It was a long drive, and then we're done. So you never quite know how it's going to be. But the running backs are definitely going to be fun to look at because we're going to see new faces out there.
Tight ends. How about, are we going to see Saubert take that tight end 2 spot?
No.
Cam Latu's actually caught some passes.
That's the guy.
You think so?
That's the guy. Yes, absolutely. I think it's Cam Latu's job to lose right now. That's how I feel. I know I'm alone in that, and I've hitched my wagon to it. I'm sticking with it until I'm wrong, man. Cam Latu, tight end 2.
Okay. All right. I like it. I'm high on Cam Latu, and I thought he looked good. And then I hop on Twitter, and I see people talking about how he's going to get cut. Cam Latu isn't doing good. I'm like, this is the best he's looked. I don't know what people are talking about. He literally has not looked better than right now with the 49ers. I think he's got speed. He's got good hands. And I think it's finally coming together for him because I know he's had a bit of butter hands. Yeah, Kenny 49ers. He was 5 for 7, 42 yards. He would be nice. I think 2 tight end sets with Latu and Kittle would be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Coaching.
I want a tight end that can catch passes. I don't want one that can just block. Like enough of the blocking tight ends. Like you know what I'm saying? I want to see more. So
agreed. Coaching, where we're going to see Kubiak call the offense again, and will Sorensen look a little more comfortable? And also, I'm just going to say it, 49ers return to Vegas where they lost the Super Bowl. So maybe there's some mental aspect going there since February.
Return.
Yes.
All right.
We'll
have to see. We'll have to see how it plays out, man. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a late game. I think even for you guys on the East Coast,
it's at 7 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah, 10 o'clock start time for us over here on the East Coast. Game won't be over until 1. Thank God. I don't know why I thought this game was on Sunday for some reason, man. I was like, man, they're gonna kill me when I have to go to work. Like I got to do an overreaction show. I'm gonna be done at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I was ready to call out on Monday, but thank God it's on Friday. So we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
I also want to see how the pass rushers look. Is Nick Bosa going to play? And if he does, who's opposite of him? Are they going to put Floyd out there? If Nick Bosa plays, does that mean Floyd has to play?
I would hope so. I mean, if Bosa plays, what the fuck are you not playing for? You know, like you're not veteran or, you know, you're not a better player than Bosa. So if he's playing, it's almost like, are you hurt?
Right. So then that means we might also see guys that I've been looking, Lyle Collins, Hargrave. Like we haven't seen any of these guys. Like these are like really big names who are supposed to be solid contributors. Give them a series, man, because then they're off for a week, and then football's back. Like it's like we got to be careful here. I want to see these guys. Like let's go out there and do something. And don't forget, guys, there was no joint practice. I know a lot of people are trying to make it more than what it is, and it's not that I'm doing that, but I want to see these guys against someone else before the season gets here. That's the only thing that I want. Like I want to see them practice. I want to know that they've gone up against somebody that's not on their own team, that they know the tendencies of since the Super Bowl. Think about that. Like that's the last time these guys played against someone else, and none of them have started. This is it's risky business if you don't play them.
All right, I have a chat pack question for you here, Mike, and then we will wrap up tonight's show.
Okay.
By the way, after this, guys, go watch Matt live with his Pixel Playground podcast. It is a video game podcast. I am putting the link in the chat since Matt lied and said he would come back and post it, and he didn't.
It's all right. I was typed out. Yeah, there you go.
Go check it out when you guys get a chance after the show ends. Okay, today's chat pack question, and chat, feel free to put your answers in the chat as well. If you could open your own retail store, what type of merchandise would you sell?
Wow. Okay. Well, my answer, if you had to ask me this five years ago, I'm lying. If you had to ask me this 10 years ago, I wanted a franchise marijuana store.
Franchise? Not why franchise and why not just specific one location?
Right. So if you are a Niners fan that travels a lot, if you're a person that travels a lot, it's really, really hard to get good pizza. If you like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've been to California plenty of times. I don't like California pizza. I've had New York style pizza in California and it is not the same. I have had original tomato pie pizza in other states and it is not the same. Right. And so I end up falling back on places like Papa John's or Domino's, not because they're so good, but because I know what I'm getting when I make the order. There is a value in a franchise when you are in unfamiliar territory. And so I always wanted to open up a weed store so that way, no matter what state you were in, you knew what you were going to get. And so once at the time I was saying this to my family, it's like, guys, we should open up a weed store. Like, let's make a franchise. And that way people knew exactly what they were going to get no matter where they were. It would be like a stronghold on the market. We could be the Domino's, which is trash if you think so, that's fine. But we would be the Domino's of marijuana. Like, you don't have any franchises that if you're in foreign territory, hey, I know what I'm getting. It might not be my favorite, but I know exactly what it's going to taste like, and I'm not going to be disappointed in it.
Of course.
So that's what I would have wanted to do.
Okay, I like that. Knowing there's quality weed wherever you go.
And I'm not a weed smoker. It was a service for other people. It was not for me.
For me, this is funny because I worked at this type of store, but honestly, I think it would be like a pet store. Like, sports obviously comes into mind, but I think that's kind of a tough business to be in. And maybe I'm taking this question too literally, but there are too many pet stores that sell shitty products for your pets. Like the amount of people that feed their dogs like Purina, Puppy Chow, or Beneful, like that they think it's good because it's got little colored kibbles. It's like, that's not supposed to look like that. Like that's most. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't know this stuff. So if you could open up like a pet store and even have like the cheapest stuff still be better than Beneful and whatnot, I think that'd be really good. Because I mean, even if you go to like Walmart, when I first moved out with Ash, we were broke, and we had Tony already, and we would go to Walmart, and even Walmart.
Old Roy.
This dog, he's gonna be 12 this year, 13.
No, I said Old Roy. That's Walmart's brand.
Oh! I thought you said Old Boy, my dog. Yeah. So they have one. It's not Old Boy. I forget the name of the brand though. But even their cheapest bag of dog food is good. Like, it's good dog food, and it compares to some of the higher end stuff as far as like it doesn't have any byproduct. There's no filler. There's no corn or wheat or anything like that. So I think people just need to take a second to look and see what's in their dog food or pet. If you have a cat, your cat too. But you don't want your dog eating byproducts, eyes, bones. They grind all that shit up. Meal is fine because meal is just like all of the meat ground and usually dehydrated. But you don't want byproduct. And most dogs actually can't have wheat, believe it or not. So I think a pet store would be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. And if you have a pet, please just do like an hour's worth of research on pet nutrition. Yep. You would learn so much what your dog should and shouldn't have, and your dog will thank you for it in the long run. Also, if your dog gets old, you got a bigger dog, start giving them some glucosamine. Helps with the joints, helps with the back, helps with the knees, so they won't be in pain as they get older. That's my rant.
That was something that we had a long time of adjusting to once we went to the English Mastiff. It was, you need grain in food. Don't look for grain free. It was like
some dogs need it.
Right. Yeah. And so they were saying like you said, the bigger dogs, like they need the grain in stuff. It's kind of the opposite of what you hear from most dogs and all that stuff. So it was pretty cool. I swear Walmart's brand was Old Roy. And I'm looking at their website right now and I don't recognize any of this stuff. That tells you. So now I go to, they have these things out here called Tractor Supply. I don't know if they're out there.
Yeah, we have them.
Oh, you okay, yeah. So now I go to Tractor Supply and I buy my dog food.
I see Old Roy.
Oh, it is there?
Yeah.
I don't even see.
They have cans at least.
But they used to sell like the big bags of the Old Roy.
Okay.
And so.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like I had like high energy dogs. I had terriers and things like that. So the Old Roy, like the protein ones were like the ones that everyone say like this is what you got to get for your dog. I never.
Right. If I found the brand here that I used to buy for my dog, if you're on a budget, Pure Balance, grain free, and they have non-grain free stuff. If you're on a budget, go to Walmart. They have the big 30-pound bags of food. It's better food than Purina, Beneful, all that BS. And most vets, if you go to a vet, they'll tell you to put your dog on science diet. It's not the best, and you're paying way too much for it. So just do a little bit of research. That's all I'm saying. I love dogs. I love animals. That's my 2 cents. All right, Mike, let the folks know where to find you. I'm sure they already know. Let them know the season's here, baby. We got one more preseason game, and then we're back to the regular season. So you're not going to want to miss a thing of Nothing But Niners.
Yeah, guys, head on over to the Patreon. So shout out to everyone who is here right now watching already from the Nothing But Niners channel. You guys better subscribe to the 49ers Hive channel. I'm telling you guys, you aren't going to miss it. I'm not always on with these guys. We don't always dual stream. So make sure you guys subscribe to their page as well. You're going to get the same quality content. You guys didn't get a Matt rant tonight because he was in and out. But I promise you won't want to miss those things. So head on over to their channel as well. The Red and Gold Standard Podcast is what they call it, but it's the 49ers Hive page. Also, for mine, you guys are already here, so thank you very much. But head on over to that one down there underneath Zach, patreon.com/NB9ERS.
And my dad's watching. He wanted me to bring up Caesars as well. If your dog likes Caesars, go get them some Caesars food.
Do they make dry food, or is it only the little?
I think they only make the can, like the little loaf. No. Actually, I'm wrong. I have seen dry food from them. It's usually a smaller bag, though.
Oh, okay. My dog loves wet food, so we give it to him as a treat. Like we'll give him a whole bowl of dry food, and I'll just pour it right on top. And then what I do is after I open the can and get the dog food out, I'll rinse it out with like some warm water, like get the gravy out and pour it on top. He devours this thing. And like, he looks at me like, where's my next bowl? Like, no, relax.
Yeah.
Like, you just ate 2 pounds of dog food. Like sit there and chill out, man. Like, come on.
Dude. So we have 2 dogs. We have a Dachshund Terrier mix, Humphrey. And then we got Tony. He's a pug pit mix. And Humphrey, we got him. My brother's dog had puppies. We weren't intending on having another dog. We ended up getting him for like, till they could find a home. He never left, and he had really bad stomach problems. And Ashley one time was like, well, let's try that refrigerated dog food since that's supposed to be really good for picky eaters. And he was throwing up like 3-4 times a day, dude. And we ended up, it's a side story. We ended up finding out he ate like his body's weight worth of cotton in a toy. And he threw that up one night, and it was like literally like this big. And he's like 12 pounds. So it was a lot.
Right.
After that, he was better, but we had transitioned him to the refrigerated food. So I felt guilty that Tony wasn't eating the refrigerated food. So now they're both on the fucking refrigerated food. It's like, it's insanely expensive.
And see, like, it's so rough with me because, like, I feel bad when the dog's bowls are empty and they're staring at me, looking at me, right? But, like, with the wet foods, they devour it so quickly. So it's like, do I just keep giving it to them? Like, that's why I haven't ever tried the refrigerated food, because anything that's not crunchy, my dogs love. Anything that's not crunchy, they're like, oh, I want it. Even when we bought dry food, there was an Old Roy one that had these, like, white pieces of, I don't know what it was, but, like, it was softer than the rest of the food mixed into it, right?
Uh-huh.
And I had a dog that would literally pick through and find those pieces and leave the bowl of the other dog food there for a day and a half. Like, I'm not eating this until you give me some more. And I'm like, no, you're going to eat that. So I'm so afraid to, like, try the wet food because I think my dog would just swallow it in 2 minutes and then the bowl's going to be empty. And I'm going to be like, all right, I got to give him some more. Yeah. Like, I feel bad. So I'm so afraid to do it because of how I would feel looking at him.
Yeah. My dog, Tony, is the most food obsessed dog ever. I mean, the minute we wake up in the morning, he gets fed twice a day, right? In the morning and the evening. The minute we wake up, he knows. He'll literally, like, herd you into the kitchen. And then as soon as we get home, or if it's a weekend, he'll literally be sleeping. And then once 5 o'clock hits, he just, like, gets up and he'll just be sitting there staring at you. He's like, how do you know what time it is, dude? And the noises this dude makes, you think he's like a howling monkey or something waiting for his food. It's insane. I got to send you a video when I feed him tomorrow, because the noises he makes every time. It's like,
yeah, it's
a shame.
Great. That's great.
All right, that's gonna do it for the show, guys. We got a little sidetracked there with the pets, but that's all right. We all love our pets. 49ers, Raiders, last preseason game this Friday evening. I think we're gonna be live afterwards. It's gonna be late Friday. I would assume Sunday. I don't know though. Don't quote me on that. We gotta talk to Matt, see when he's free. He might work. So we will be announcing the details on X. Follow us. Both of our handles are on the screen. Also follow the podcast at RGS Pod. Follow Nothing But Niners. NB9ERS. Is that your handle on X?
Oh, no. It's Nothing But, and then the number 9.
There you go.
ERS. So Nothing But Niners, but the 9 instead of it being spelled all the way out.
Go follow us so you guys don't miss a thing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you here. Matt's not here to sign us off, so I'll do my best. Go 49ers. What does he say? Above all else, stay faithful. Take care.